All right, so we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daytona 500 edition of NASCAR Talk. We got a good panel of people that are going to be joining here in just a matter of moments. I'm in the process of currently sending the Hangout links to every one of them. And we will get started. As you can tell by the description, we're going to be basically covering what took place in the Sprint Unlimited, as well as the Can-Am Duels, and then we'll be looking forward towards the Daytona 500, and also giving you our picks, if you will, of who to watch for. And there is Charles Belding. Hey, Charles.
Hi.
And there we go, McCrory
Hi.
and Gardner. And now we're just waiting on one, which would be Washer, and he'll probably be in pretty soon.
What's up?
And in the meantime, I'm going to get my custom-made hat.
Go for it.
There.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a pretty awesome hat.
Just took some
That's
stick.
awesome.
I had the has the NASCAR logo on it. I just took like some stickers and cut out the talk letters. So
That's pretty cool, though.
yeah.
You ready for the 2.4 today?
Yeah, a number of us are they're in this call. We're running a 2.4-hour race at Daytona.
Yay.
Death.
I am terrible at road courses, so I pity Cody Lamas being my teammate.
Did you get the track update?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
haven't
what
tested
car-
either one of them, so I don't have a clue what either one of them's like.
I haven't either.
I'm just gonna wait till practice.
Hey, what car are you driving?
I'm driving the O2.
What does it look like?
Um,
Isn't it the Target-looking thingamajigger?
Oh yeah, you're on JBM. Never mind.
yeah, I'm on JBM with Cody
Never-
Lama.
So JBM too.
I'm in the 19 Wayland.
Who you running with, Robbie?
Robbie, and if Robbie
Yeah.
doesn't show up, I'm just gonna drive myself.
You should run with Leighton. You'll win.
You should run with yeah.
Does
if you and Leighton raced together at Daytona Road Course, you guys would kill us.
does Leighton need a driver?
Yes, Leighton needs a driver.
What
He
it
does
sounds
need
like,
a
yeah.
driver. He does need a driver. All right, hold on. Let me message Buchanan and tell him that if Robbie doesn't show up, then I'll drive with Leighton.
Me and my big mouth. Why did I talk? The last thing I need is to have Anthony with Leighton. Good lord.
You should have shut up, Seth. You need to learn
Okay.
to keep your mouth shut.
Okay.
All right, so
apologize.
I guess we'll just start whenever Washer gets in. He gets in. Let me just look and make sure he got the link I sent him.
I
he
literally
did.
have been so eager to join this NASCAR talk and because if anyone remembers last year, I live on the West Coast, so I've actually been up. So I woke up like really early because I'm just like so eager to be here.
Yeah, and of course it had to be on a day when we're doing it later.
Yeah.
Poor Charles, he's
Yeah.
up and he's like, when's it gonna happen?
Yeah. I've literally just been like sitting at my computer refreshing pages over and over and over again just to wait for like any updates.
Oh, good God.
Oh, well, you made it anyway, though, so.
I've been up since I went to bed so late. I went to bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I was literally I was in the middle of microwaving myself a snack to let me go to bed, and all of a sudden my microwave started sparking, and I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" So I had to stop whatever the hell I was doing. I had to unplug it. I'm like, "Okay, this cannot be good." I had to text one of my friends that used to work with me, and to let him know what's going on with it. So I'm like, "Okay, let me try to get to sleep." Didn't happen until 2 a.m. Woke up at 7. I'm like, oh, yeah, today's NASCAR Talk Day.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much running around on about 5-something hours of sleep.
Note to self, stay away from Johnny Gardner when racing at Daytona. Like, Johnny, that's a wall.
Johnny, no.
I
Turn
like
one, no.
recalculating.
Turn one is after pit road, Johnny. Johnny, no.
Oh, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone horribly wrong.
Johnny, turn left, left.
Turn
Now.
left now. I'm not unstruck.
Johnny, no, that's a right turn. That's a right turn. Turn right.
But it's Daytona.
I know.
You don't turn right at Daytona.
You do there.
Speaking of Daytona, NASCAR talk time. All right. So anyway, a lot of action taking place this past week. What with the Sprint Unlimited? Let's focus on that one first. Was anybody besides me shocked at the level of attrition in that race? I mean, I don't think I've seen a Sprint Unlimited that was as much of a wreck fest as this year's was.
I mean, 2014 and 2015 were also both wild races with, I think, more than half of the field out of the race by the end of it. As far as my memory serves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
but
were.
here's the thing. It's the downforce package now. What do you think? This low downforce. That's the problem.
Good point. Yeah.
Aero
Low
package.
downforce isn't really. It's not used at the restricted plates though. It's used everywhere else, but not at the restricted plates.
Well, yeah.
Also,
but
with how low the splitter is now, that's why it's been. It drags.
But I
Too, if you
think.
look at it that way.
I mean, like the leader couldn't. I mean, the leader could get out front and just camp out front because once you got a little bit of a run, you'd hit a wall of air and then you'd basically get into a sucker hole no matter where you were at in the track. So no one could really get by the leader, and that caused a bunch of stack ups.
Yeah.
So
I mean, well, it is possible to make the move, but you have to have a strong car, like we saw Dale Jr. with Denny Hamlin in the dual race, the Can-Am dual race. But
There were only a few drivers that could make like the pass for the lead work so far.
yeah, there's only like maybe 3 or 4 drivers that really either have the machine or know how to work the draft enough to be able to make the move. But moving to the Can-Am duels, was there anything surprising to you guys about that, or anything that you expected to see that we didn't see, or was it basically kind of how you expected it?
train racing at Daytona's back. Woo.
Yay.
I actually, like, going into this race, I thought the first one was actually going to be the more uneventful one because the first one kind of had everyone who you expected to be up front, like Dale Jr., Denny Hamlin, the Penske teammates. And so that made me think that the second one was actually going to be more interesting because it had more drivers that based on the Sprint Limited, weren't up the front, but it turns out the first one was actually, in my opinion, better than the second one.
Well, yeah, and they basically brought up a good point during the second Can-Am duel that the reason that it was a lot of the single file racing was because all 3 of the remaining Joe Gibbs racing drivers, Denny Hamlin was in the first one, but the other 3, they were in duel number 2, all started up near the front, and so they kind of set the tone for what kind of racing we were going to have, and since they were going to race each other and race single file, everybody else basically had to race single file or else they were going to lose them.
That's
Exactly.
true. But I mean, like, and there's also you don't want to wreck up your car in the duels. That's why the duels have never really been a race where you're going to see a bunch of passing for the lead and whatnot. Because I mean, like, you could win, and I know that the position matters, but you don't want to wreck up your car and go to a backup like we saw Kenseth. Kenseth had to go to a backup, and he was starting on the front row, and now he's going to be starting. I don't know if he's on the last row, but he's going to be towards the back. So that's another reason why they kind of race cautiously. I mean, train racing isn't fun to watch, but I mean, it gets the job done. So I can understand why they do it.
And
Right.
plus, I would rather race with my pristine car in like the 30th position starting Daytona 500 than like starting whatever with one of the backup cars that I know it's not going to do well as my pristine car.
Yeah,
But I mean-
and I was when I was watching interviews and stuff with people saying we're going to backup cars and everything, you know, the obvious thing is the car is still going to work well in the draft. You know, they're more than likely going to be cars that if they're in the pack, they're going to run well and everything. But the reason they wanted their primary cars is based on handling, I would think. You get the car to where it's comfortable for you. You know what kind of moves it can make and everything. You get into a backup car, yeah, you can run in the draft, but you're not really sure what the car is capable of as far as the moves you can make to get to the front.
Exactly. When you knew with the primary car it would be set in stone, but now with that you're in unfamiliar territory with a backup car, you're pretty much SOL, knowing what you can and cannot do.
Yeah, Johnny said everything perfectly, because when you have your pristine car, you know everything about the car because it's probably the car that's been used several times before in other super speedway races or other significant races. So they know a lot about the car already. They feel confident, and it's race winning. But when they go to a backup car, they know nothing about it unless it's a car they raced in other racetracks. And usually a backup car is brand new, so the driver has to get it all calibrated again. And and even small stuff will set the driver off task. Like I remember watching a practice last week. They have to set up lines so the drivers know exactly where the steering wheel should go. Like all that thing has to be done from scratch.
Exactly. And plus, unless if you're one of the drivers that have your Sprint Unlimited car as your backup that didn't get wrecked out, then you're in good shape. But if your car was in the Sprint Unlimited and got wadded up, you'd have to have a brand new backup.
Which was basically just about everybody with the exception of maybe Dale Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Paul Menard.
Yeah. Exactly. Even if they did have the Sprint Unlimited car as their backup car, yes, even though they have experience with it, they know how the car works, that car was set up for nighttime track conditions.
Yeah,
Daytona 500 is going to be in daytime track conditions, so you're still, not getting off to a good start there.
Which is why I think the duels are a little bit. I don't want to. I don't want to trash the duels being at night, and I know why they have it at night is because you can't. I mean, like you can't really expect a huge turnout during the day on a Thursday because for obvious reasons.
And plus, many people are at school and work.
But when you race at night, you're racing with a car that's set up for a day track, and then you have to go back and or you have to set your day car to a night car, and then you have to set it back to a day car. Doing all those different sets, if you're not in the Bud shootout at the beginning of Speed Weeks, then you have no idea what your night car is going to do unless you pull one from the Coke 400. So,
exactly. Yeah, because they don't run any practice sessions under nighttime conditions.
It's all during the day, and it's like, and I can see that it would be hard to figure out what your car could do. So that's why they just it's all about finding out what your car is capable of doing, and like Chris said, I mean you don't want to go to your backup car ever.
And plus, that's what the conflicting thing about the duels was when it was in the daytime. Of course, it was good for the drivers because it was in daytime track conditions. They knew what to expect when they came for the Daytona 500. But the fan turnout and the TV turnout wasn't good because, of course, people were at work or at school. Now, with the fans getting what they want, having it at nighttime so they be able to watch it, makes it tougher on the drivers because we said multiple times already, they have a daytime track setup for those cars, but it's going to be at nighttime. So that's on one side of me, I want to see the cars race in daytime where the conditions are exactly like the Daytona 500 because that's what they're qualifying for. But on the other hand, for the fan point of view, having it at nighttime is doing well for the TV turnout and the fan turnout at the track.
And I also, excuse me.
Sorry.
I also happen to find, well, in my opinion, I also think that like day races are actually races under daytime are better than nighttime because the track is much more slick, and so I think like that kind of lends itself to better racing because under the lights the track just has so much grip, and I think what I've learned in racing is that the more grip, the harder it is to pass.
It also makes them go faster. If we can switch the topic to that truck race last night, you saw how fast they went. They went 198 miles per hour in the draft. At least some truck did. I remember seeing one truck go 198 miles per hour. I think it might have been the suck-up speed. But we saw them go pretty fast, and it was It wasn't as fast as previous years, but still really fast. And then the final couple laps came. You saw Christopher Well, just like the physics. I think one truck wedged under Bell at the right time, causing him to flip numerous times, and it was a
Yeah,
very
and
scary
he only nosed it
accident.
into the wall.
Yeah, he nosed it into the wall, and for the truck race, in my opinion and many others' opinion, I don't care who won the race, NASCAR won because the safety. He will manage to walk out of that wreck under his own 2 feet. He was going to he went to the hospital, but he was cleared with no incidents at all. He is 100% healthy.
And going to your point about the Sprint Unlimited, the Can-Am Duels, and the Daytona 500. I mean, I understand too that NASCAR wants to get better ratings, people to be able to see the Can-Am Duels and all that. But if we're going to be perfectly honest, when were the Can-Am Duels never number 3 for most watched of the week? Because you got the Bud Shootout, now the Sprint Unlimited. That was basically a non-points race, and you had your big names from the previous season, so people were going to tune in to watch that.
And
You got
plus,
the
they had
Daytona
archives to
500.
build it
That's
up.
obviously the pinnacle of the Sprint Cup Series. But the Can-Am Duels, the only thing that's basically doing is setting third place on back for the field for the 500 and allowing drivers to race their way in. It's not real. I think they try and hype it up a lot more than really it kind of is. And so, in my opinion, it was still third on the list for speed weeks of something to be tuned into anyway. So a rise in viewing wouldn't exactly, I think, be something that would necessarily be something they'd have to shoot for, and putting the drivers in the problem of having to adjust to a nighttime race rather than a daytime race and getting their Daytona 500 car put together.
And also going to TV figures. Another reason why it's probably third on the list because you see the other two races, the Sprint Unlimited and Daytona 500, they're on the main Fox station. So of course they're gonna get more viewers because if you have basic cable, you're gonna have your local Fox station. But the Can-Am Duels, it's on Fox Sports 1.
Right.
Unless you have a specific cable or satellite package, you don't get that channel, and the TV ratings are probably go down for that. The streaming ratings probably went up, but the TV ratings definitely went down.
I also just find it strange about how it's just like a qualifying race at a restricted plate track for a restricted plate race, where basically your starting position doesn't mean that much.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather start up front, to be honest. Even though it's a very long race, but the big one can happen at any time.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, if you watched I think it was the second Can-Am Duel, Martin Truex Jr. started at the rear. You saw how quickly he got up through the field. So, I know that would probably be contributed as well to the grip of the nighttime conditions, but who's to say that may not be something that could take place during the daytime conditions in the 500 as well? So, starting at the rear of the field, not necessarily that much of a hindrance if the same kind of physics take place with what we saw with Truex starting at the rear of his duel, and before long we saw him up in the top 10. I think it was in a matter of 2 laps. As a matter of fact, I saw him at one point actually take it 3 wide on the bottom himself, and he passed 4 cars in the matter of 1 turn. So, whether that's the nighttime conditions or not, you're obviously seeing that with the low downforce package and everything, a lot of moves can be made to cut your way up through the field.
I don't think that it's just limited to nighttime driving though, because let's not forget that back there you have a plethora of cars in front of you that's already breaking the wind, so you can just flat out pedal to the floor and you can worm your way through traffic because you have that extra bit of speed because you don't have to break the wind. But once you get up to actually fighting for, say, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, then there's not as many cars in front to break the wind. So you look at it this way: in the back, you have this pocket of air in the middle of the pack. But once you get out of that pocket of air, you start getting towards the front of the field. It's harder to make moves once you get up there because now your car also has to break some of the wind. So that's why we've seen once, like Martin Truex Jr., once they get up that far, that's where they stall because their car either doesn't have the speed of the other cars, they're just biding their time or whatever, or they just can't do it because of the way the wind is acting with the cars. So that's why Junior was able to pretty much get the lead in lap 2 and and for the rest of the race not technically give up the lead for more than a few laps. So it was that's one of the contributing factors to it.
And also, qualifying could be, used as an analogy for super speedways for also in 24-hour races. It isn't necessarily where you start that counts.
It matters
It's where you are
finish.
at the end. Yeah, it's because a thing I could pull out that makes this analogy true is that super speedway racing, you could be 43rd, well, in this case 40, to like second in like 3 laps, and people won't even be surprised. In endurance racing, you have much more time because since it's a larger track and much people are spread out. 24 Hours to Dubai this year, a Black Falcon Mercedes started last on the grid, ended up second at the end of the race. Super speedway racing, much more easier to get the second. So where you qualify, it's gonna be a little hindrance because nobody wants to start that far in the back. But if you do, it's not gonna be that tough to get up there.
To go back to the famous words of Ralph Mason, you can't win the race in the first quarter, and that doesn't mean you can win it in the second one either.
Exactly. There's 2 questions that I want to ask, and they kind of base off of each other. First off, we saw that Jamie McMurray in the second Can-Am duel, he was able to get a run on Kyle Busch, and then we saw Jimmy Johnson, that whole thing take place. So the first thing, we're going to kind of branch the second question off this, but the first question would be, in your guys' opinion, with it being a starting spot in the 500, a good starting spot on the line, was the move a little too aggressive in your opinion? Because from what I saw, it didn't look like Jimmy Johnson or McMurray made any contact with each other. It looked like it was completely the aerodynamics of the move that took place that took the air off the front of Johnson's car and ended up causing that wreck. In your guys' opinion, was that a well-executed move that just went wrong, or was it too aggressive a move to take place in an event where no points were on the line and a good starting spot in the 500 was on the line?
I think it might have been a little bit too aggressive for a duels race. If it was the Daytona 500, I don't think he was just going for a gap that was there. Because since it was the duels, of course, if you're a race car driver, every single race you're in, no matter if it's non-points or if it doesn't count for anything, you still want to win. I think that was the mindset of Jay McMurray when he made that move. So for the duels, once again, I think it was too aggressive. But if it was a points race, I think it would be just a great move gone wrong.
Johnson fan here, and the move. Well, certainly at the moment it wasn't too aggressive to Jimmy Johnson, but looking at it on the replay, as far as my memory serves, I feel like that it was aggressive because, like I said earlier, it's a qualifying race at a restricted weight track for a restricted weight race, so it's not like his starting position is going to matter like that much compared to, say, a road course, and so I feel like that. For this kind of race, I agree with Chris. It was a little too aggressive.
Yeah, because if you start third row, second row, fifth row, last row, at a super speedway track, yeah, way too aggressive. Like, just take wherever you're at, call it a day. This isn't the main race. Go into Daytona, go into the 500, knowing that you have a car that could do that. But don't actually tear it up and do that.
Right.
Now, okay. Go ahead, Johnny. I'll let you finish up this.
I was just agreeing there. So.
Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to branch off now to talk about the Daytona 500. Basically, in the Sprint Unlimited and Duel Number 1, ironically enough, Dale Jr. being in both of them, that kind of a thing. But anyway, Denny Hamlin also. We didn't really see a battle for the victory in those, whereas in Can-Am Duel Number 2, we saw Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Johnson try a run on the outside line. Now, not to say anything against last year's Daytona 500, but to me, the finish of the 500 was a little bit left me, wanting a little bit more. There really didn't seem like there was going to be much of an opportunity to challenge for the lead against Logano. With the 500 finishing more than likely under some twilight conditions, let's say tomorrow night, or not tomorrow night, tomorrow night. With what we saw McMurray and Jimmy Johnson try and do under nighttime conditions in the Can-Am Duel, will we this season see more of a battle for the win in the final few laps, or do you think we're going to see a car get out in front, be able to just block both lines, and basically by about a car length run away with the victory?
Depends on the driver.
Exactly.
So let's say you have Paul Menard in second, and you have Matt Kenseth in first. You don't think that Paul Menard, knowing that a win would be a huge boost for that team and give Richard Childress some life back into it? Like a driver like Paul Menard would go for it, but would a driver like Joey Logano go for it? Would a guy like Brad Kenseth go for it? Would Dale Jr. go for
You mean
it?
Brad Keselowski, not Brad Kenseth?
Brad Kenseth. Yeah, Brad Kenseth. That's a new driver. Brad Keselowski. Brad Kenseth.
Wow, okay, where's he starting in the grid?
He's starting 49th on the grid.
Oh, wow, and there's only 40 cars allowed in. How did Josh Wise and Cole Witt, how'd they all fail to make the race?
They didn't have. They're not charter teams.
Oh, I
You
got it.
see, Brad Kenseth had, it's like Formula One style. They have 49th on the grid because if they had some grid penalties that Formula One had to give out.
Brad Kenseth is Matt Kenseth's long-lost son. I mean, Ross Kenseth gets all the TV time, but Brad Kenseth's just kind of there in the background.
He's
Guys, I've got the flu, so give me a break.
Anyway, okay,
You know what I
I'm
meant,
not the only one. I have allergies.
You know what I meant, though.
So, looking forward to the Daytona 500. We have a question that was asked yesterday for today's stream from CJ Dowd, and he asked, what would you guys prefer to see more, tandem racing or the pack racing that we currently have? Which to you guys was the more exciting kind of racing?
This is so hard to answer because both types of racing has their own advantages. Like tandem racing, we saw in Xfinity for quite a while before they banned bump drafting, or excessive bump drafting.
You mean the excessive tandem?
Tandems, yeah. But I mean, they had like the two-car tandems and stuff. It was very interesting racing. But it was like, to be honest, you had two-car tandems, which means if one car moved out, the other one was screwed. But in pack racing, if you moved out, you have the chance to have another guy go up with you. So I think I'm gonna have to go with pack racing in this one.
Well, here's just my opinion. I'm just going to throw this out here. To me, I enjoyed the tandem racing basically because, to me, the reason I like restrictor plate racing so much is because it's the best opportunity for an underdog driver to get a chance to go to victory lane. And with the tandem racing, it gave underdog teams an opportunity to be able to hook up with each other, and they were then more of a competitive force against the bigger name teams. You could see two front row motorsports drivers be able to bypass two drivers from Penske Racing. We ended up seeing tandem race. We ended up seeing tandem racing only one time, to my knowledge, really go wrong, and that was the whole incident with Carl Eber's Brad Keselowski. But aside from that, tandem racing, there really wasn't much problem with it. And to me, with pack racing, the underdog drivers, yeah, they can get up there, but I don't see them really getting up to the front. I see them more from 4th, 5th, 6th or something. And when they come down to the finish of a race, they're not able to really get up there. They don't have the package to be able to get up and bypass one of the strongest cars of the night. Whereas with tandem racing, if you hooked up with somebody, didn't matter how strong that car had been all day, if they were separated from somebody, you were going to go blowing by them and have an opportunity to take the win from them. So to me, I actually enjoyed watching tandem racing a lot more than I did pack racing.
Pack racing can be. I would like to talk now. Sorry. Pack racing, I think, can be good with the proper rules package. Unfortunately, this package is just not that great. I would prefer more of like a late 2000, 2001 era package, and if you want to know a certain race, watch the 2000 Winston 500, Earnhardt's famous 17th to first in the final 3 laps, race. But currently at the moment, every passing plate race under the Gen 6 car, I wish the TAMs were back. And one of the reasons is, well, just like Seth said, it gave underdog drivers a more advantage. I remember the Landon Castle and Casey Mears tandem.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, like, there's something very exciting to me in watching someone, say, enter turn number 1, 15th spot, and then all of a sudden, by the time they get back to the start finish line, they can be the leader, because that can easily happen with tandems. Whereas in a pack, you can be 15th and then just sort of be stuck.
I mean, well, with the tandem racing, just going to throw this out here too, and then I'll let you go ahead, Anthony. It was the tandem racing that gave us Trevor Bayne as our 2011 Daytona 500 winner.
That is true, and I think I'm going to be the oddball one out here, but I actually like a hybrid of tandem and pack.
So pretty much like the
My example for that is the 2013 nationwide race at Daytona, and of course that's the one where Kyle Larson went up into the catch fence. But had that not happened, you would have had you still had a fantastic race to the line. But that was those last couple of laps. That was tandem racing, but that was also pack racing.
Right.
So no one got away, but yet no one got away, but yet they were still tandeming. So, and you could only stay in that pack if you were in a tandem. So, to me, that's my favorite form, is going back and watching the old Nationwide, because you can only see that in Nationwide. You couldn't see that very much in Cup, but in Nationwide, the tandem pack hybrid, that's my favorite.
Right, but yeah, what you were saying about the tandem at Talladega in 09 there, Seth, that wasn't gone wrong. Edwards left the hole. Kiz was trying to make his move. Edwards went down the block, and Keselowski was there. So that's a consequence of tandem. But it wasn't his fault, though, that he didn't. That it was Edwards' fault that he blocked twice, and he left a little bit of a hole. And Keselowski was going to stand his ground.
Yeah, basically what I was meaning is it was like our only time where a tandem had an incident that resulted.
That's the only time it was wrong. That went wrong with an accident. Don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, though, tandem racing provided some exciting things. Look over in the Nationwide Series, Xfinity Series 2011 at Talladega. Joe Nemechek actually was up there leading and finished third with it. Trevor Bayne Daytona in the Cup Series. And Parker Kligerman 2012 at Talladega in the Truck Series. Provided some exciting finishes with it.
And I don't know if I doubt there can be any comparison with trucks and Sprint Cup, but last night's race with the Camping World Truck Series, that was actually some really good racing. The aerodynamics were beautiful, with allowing the outside and the inside line to basically be jostling back and forth in the closing stages of that race. So, I mean, as far as that whole thing's concerned, I'm hoping that we could see something like that tomorrow night, but, I don't know if we can really use the Sprint Unlimited based on the wrecking that went on, or either one of the Can-Am duels to use as a guideline of what kind of racing we're going to see near the end of the 500 tomorrow night.
Well, the trucks have set the bar, so now the Cup and the Nationwide have to do it better.
Right.
No, so I agree with you there, Cole. The racing, we can't base that off from the other Cup races we've seen this weekend, because that's only like 20, 25 cars we saw at the same time. We're going to see 40 to Sunday. So it's going to be completely different with the other half of cars there.
All right, so in just a couple of minutes, a few of us are going to have to head off. So we're going to jump to the portion where we are going to try to help you guys out in your fantasy lineup. I've already put my fantasy lineup together on NASCAR.com, and hoping that maybe it'll come out okay. But anyway, we're going to go from left to right. So, Anthony, you're going to be on the spot.
Oh.
And
it's on you first.
And we're going to pick one driver that you think is going to be the dominant driver, that, is the standout driver to pick Pick a driver that we should stay away from that you don't think is going to have good luck tomorrow night at Daytona, and then who would be your sleeper, your dark horse that you think could be a good low price pick to maybe put in a fantasy lineup.
Oh, safe bet, Dale Jr.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's safe bet.
I will not I will not hide anything. Yes, I have Dale Jr. in my fantasy lineup.
I do too. I do too. I won't hide it either.
So Dale Jr., yes, that you must have him. You will, unless he crashes, you will get a good finish out of him.
He's running Amelia for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, I know. So, my guy to stay away from. Well, I did have Cole Witt until he didn't make it.
Yeah,
So
I'm not qualified for the Daytona 500.
I will say stay away from Danica Patrick. Not because she's Danica Patrick and we like to make the jokes about her, but honestly, we have this running joke where every second we see Danica, she's either a lap down or she's wrecked. And in Can-Am Duel 2, where did we find her at the end of the race? Wrecked. So, I nothing against Danica. I think she's an okay driver as far as that goes, but don't pick Danica Patrick as your for your fantasy. It won't work out. Also, AJ Allmendinger, I don't think you'd want to have him either. But my dark horse will be Paul Menard because he's had speed all weekend, and I feel that Paul Menard could probably pull one out of his hat.
Good pick. All right, let's go to Charles.
Well, the safe pick, in my opinion, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. And the sleeper pick, this is where things get a little tricky. I actually have the starting lineup pulled up on our tab on my screen, and when I look at the drivers that I think could be a surprise, some may not consider this a surprise, but I'm just going to go with Ryan Blaney. He finished third in the first duel, and remember his third place finish in Talladega last year in the spring, so he can definitely get the job done. So he's my sleeper, and the driver to stay away from. He starts dead last, but every single time I think of this driver, I just have memories of him getting involved in the crash. Robert Richardson Jr.
All right, Johnny.
Oh, good gosh. You know, I'm going to go out on a whim here. He had a good car in the Sprint Unlimited. Ran fair in the Can-Am Duel number 1. I'm going to go with BK for my Daytona 500. I did this last year. I came oh so close, despite the engine failure. This year I'm going to do it again, and hopefully I'm going to go right this time. Driver stay away from? You said Richardson was starting 40th, correct?
Yeah, he starts 40th, dead last.
Yeah, every time I've seen him in the 500, yeah, he crashes out. So that's my driver staying away from. Dark horse, I think you'll be happy with this one, Seth. I'm going with your fave, Casey Mears.
Oh. Yeah, Casey Mears, 2 top 10s in the last 2 Daytona 500s, so
that's what.
As long as they get the doggone tank full of fuel.
I was thinking about putting so many ran out of gas.
Yeah. The only good thing for me, it was a non-points race. He ran out of fuel. More than likely, with where he was situated in the field, when that wreck happened, he probably would have been caught up and had to go into a backup car. So it was kind of a blessing in a way that he was off track when that happened. But he's going to be starting at the rear of the field, which that's okay. But
let's not forget though, Casey Mears, 2006 Daytona 500, he finished second.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not forget that.
Chris. Your picks.
My picks for the win, it's either going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. or a Joe Gibbs racing car. They've been fast all week, and we saw in duel number 1, saw Denny Hamlin and Dale Jr. going at it. Hamlin trying to find any opening he could find on Jr., but Jr. just kept locking. And then you had like the 3-car Gibbs racing train in duel 2. So it's either going to be once again Dale Jr. or a Joe Gibbs racing car. The person to stay away from. Uh, yeah, Robert Richardson Jr. He has shown no pace in practice or qualifying. He made it in, but he's definitely not going to be the one to win the race. And my sleeper, I'm going to go with what Johnny said, Casey Mears, because he's been up there on the speed charts and on the races. He's been up there. Maybe not, if not in the top 10, top 20. And we've seen improvement from that Germain Racing team throughout the years. And looking to the future, I think Mears could actually win a race this season.
All right, I'm gonna go with the. You brought up the lead into my pick, Chris. How Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Denny Hamlin have both been really going at it this week in both the Sprint Unlimited and in Can-Am Duel number 1. I'm gonna go with Denny Hamlin as the one guy that can maybe best Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s package, his chassis, because Denny Hamlin, he was able to best Dale Jr. when they were at the Sprint Unlimited. However, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was able to slip on by Denny Hamlin in Can-Am Duel number 1. I think it's going to be a cat and mouse game between these two cars. I think they may be the strongest two cars in the field. The driver to stay away from, it's a pretty obvious one for me, and that's Kyle Larson. He's able to get his car to the front, but he's not able to pick the line that moves. Not necessarily saying he's going to wreck out of the race, but I don't think you're going to see him up at the front near the end. He's going to, at some point, make some kind of a move, and he's going to fall out of the top 10, top 20 very late in the race. And one thing that seems to be with Kyle Larson for me is whether he has a good handling car or not, whether he says he has a good handling car or not, that car most oftentimes, especially in the last couple of 500s, has not looked stable to me. He gets in the middle of the car, is super squirrely coming off turn 4. I know that's a normal thing for drivers, but it just seems like that 42 car is loose all the time. My dark horse pick, surprisingly enough, is going to be wait a minute, I just lost who it was. Let me see. It's gonna my dark horse is more than likely going to be Austin Dillon, because I know that he ended up wrecking in the summer Daytona race. He got up in the catch fence, but he was running pretty good at the time. And in 4 races, his last 4 races at Daytona, he's had an average finish of 8th place. So, he's the second highest average finisher for a dark horse driver. Casey Mears actually the highest in the last 4 starts. But I would look at Austin Dillon. That 3 car has actually shown some speed here during speed weeks, and I think maybe you could see Austin Dillon get up there. I don't necessarily think he's going to win the race, but I think that he could be a pretty good factor. We've seen him up there running with Chase Elliott, who we know has a fast car. So I would go with Austin Dillon as a sleeper in the 500. And it's kind of interesting, too. I'm looking right here, and I don't think he's going to win it, but Brian Vickers, in 2 starts at Daytona, his past 2 starts, he's got a 16th place average finish. One of them was a top 5. Interesting.
Interestingly enough.
All right, so we're about ready to close this up. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
No, I'm good.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys this, though. What do you expect out of the Xfinity race today? What do you guys expect? Because we had that flip last night with Christopher Bell, so what do you guys expect for today?
I'm expecting to see at least a couple of big wrecks. I don't know about a flip, but I'm expecting to see a couple of big wrecks, especially late, because past couple of years, it really seems like when it comes down to the closing, they really start leaning on each other and making aggressive moves. You got to remember, it's like the younger series of Sprint Cups, so there's a little bit more inexperience down there. But it's going to be interesting to see their type of racing as opposed to the Sprint Cup cars, because I haven't really gotten to see much of the practice sessions. Most of their practice sessions were yesterday, and I was at work at the time, so I'll be interested to see what kind of racing they're going to do tonight.
Okay, what about you, Chris?
For Xfinity, I think actually the major story, Daniel Suarez won the pole for the race today, and so Daniel Suarez could be a one to beat, but also you have Bobby Labonte in 3rd. he did a very good qualifying session, and we have a bunch of young guns. But of course, we have lots of cuppies too. We have Austin Dillon, we have Joey Logano, I believe Ty Dillon's also in there. Chase Elliott's also racing the 88 car. So it's going to be either a top-end Xfinity Series driver like Eric Jones, Suarez, or Bobby Labonte, or it's going to be a cuppy like Dillon, Chase Elliott, or Joey Logano.
Well, here's the thing: the Labonte's a part-time Cup driver, so and you call him an Xfinity driver there. So
It doesn't. If you're part-time, I believe you can still run for Xfinity.
yeah, you can still exactly. So
Yeah,
I
is
don't know what to expect.
Labonte running for Xfinity points?
I do
don't
not know,
know.
but he's racing for Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, I know that. I would think it'd be kind of foolish for him to run for Sprint Cup points because he's only going to be in the 32, I think they said 12 races.
I think
Oh, is it just 4? He's just running the restricted tracks?
I believe so. Yes.
Oh,
In the
okay.
Cup Series, yes. I don't know the rest of his Xfinity plans.
You watch, he wins, and then he gets into the chase. He's like, "Welp."
And Joe Gibbs gives him the full-time ride.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing
I'm not-
too with
I'm not-
with Xfinity and of course with trucks with Johnny Slaughter winning last night because they've got their chase now, and so yeah, the wins are going to be a lot more important in those two series.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be watching the Xfinity race unless I or if I watch it, I'm only going to be watching like the live leaderboard because I have other plans today. But I think, like, my opinion, the popular favorite would be Bobby White because it's been so long since he's been in the equipment that he's going to be in for this race. He also has not won. He actually has not won a NASCAR race period in over a decade. His last one was, I think, actually no, it hasn't been over a decade. It's been almost a decade. 2007 Xfinity Talladega. So it's been a long time since he won, and in my opinion, he's the popular favorite and the one that I hope he wins out of everyone else. If it's not him, then I hope it's not a Cup driver.
Yeah, same here.
That made me so. Yeah. Labonte though surprised me when I first heard the news about him coming into the for the 18 to replace Kyle Busch in the Super for today. I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be true. And then I started reading more about it, and I was like, oh yeah, it's true now. I'm like, what? This is awesome. I'm like, okay, this might work out to Labonte's favor, hopefully. But I don't know what to expect.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this week's NASCAR Talk. Apologies to people who watched and also the people that joined me here today for being so late. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. Appreciate all your input and everything. And looking forward to tomorrow's Daytona 500 at 1 o'clock. And should be an interesting one. We'll, of course, have NASCAR Talk next Saturday as we'll discuss the results of the 500 and look forward to February 28th's race, the Fields of Honor Quick Trip 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So once more, thank you to Anthony, Charles, Johnny, and Chris for joining me for this week's edition.
No
Always
problem.
great to be a part of
No
these.
problem.
All right, so thank you everybody for watching. Hope you'll tune in next week. If you want to join us next week, let me know. I don't have a set time on Saturdays of when these streams go up, but they take place on Saturday mornings. This one late Saturday morning, but
Early afternoon.
if you want to join us, the best way to get in touch with me is usually through Facebook. Just send me a personal message. I'll send you the link to the Google Hangout, and you're able to join. So, without further ado, guys, anything you want to say to finish out the stream?
I've been cleared to have Leighton on my team, by the way.
Doggone it!
Oh,
Rest in
no.
peace.
Xbox 2.4 hours of Daytona.
Rest in
It's
peace.
officially screwed.
JBM entry. Cody Loms is gonna hate me.
Don't you mean? Also, don't you mean rest in peace number 77? Too?
Anthony, is it okay if I wreck you?
Only on Wednesday.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
Don't you mean
I can't wait.
oh, by the way, Seth.
I can't wait to go back to bed.
Charles lives on the West Coast for you people who don't know, and he got up really early thinking it was going to be an early East Coast stream, and He's waiting forever for it to take place, and it didn't happen. He's like messaging me. He's like, are you having technical difficulties? Because the stream's not going up.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, those West Coasters.
Oh man. All right. So, thank you everybody for watching.
I might be able to run
Yes.
icebreakers again.
Go later.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay, so oh, and there goes Charles. All right, so thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next week for NASCAR Talk. See ya.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.